Good morning, Cedar Park High School. It's Friday, September 4th, and it's an A-Day. I'm Ella Neal.
And I'm Justin Borg.
Welcome to our first show of the year. We are so glad to be back. On today's show, we have a story over race relations here at Cedar Park, the top 3 things you need to know for today,
a sports report, and a new episode of Pack Chat, and your Pet of the Week.
Let's jump in because the Wolfcast starts now. The country remains in turmoil, sparked largely after the death of George Floyd back in May at the hands of Minneapolis police officers. The Houston native's death led to global protests, and it reignited the flame of the Black Lives Matter movement.
In the 102 days since Floyd's death, Democrats are demanding law enforcement reform by defunding police, and some Republicans are calling for law and order in cities plagued by riots.
Racial tensions continue to consume the nation, and many are asking for a change.
Since Floyd's death, countless other names have come up concerning police brutality in the Black Lives Matter movement. It's hard to ignore the national coverage of these protests, the voices of those who have been affected in the movement as a whole.
But how does Cedar Park play into this national conversation? CPHS News executive producer and reporter Claire Mallet joins us to tell us more.
Thanks, Ella. For many, Cedar Park is a small and quiet community, a city where not too much happens. And amid the turbulent times we've experienced this year, our community is seemingly reserved. But that's not necessarily true.
The death of George Floyd,
Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery,
Trayvon Martin,
Bottom Jean,
Jacob Blake.
Black lives have always mattered. We have always been important. We have always meant something. We have always succeeded, regardless. And now is the time. I ain't waiting.
I think that some people don't believe that police brutality is really a Cedar Park issue because they see George Floyd and they think, wow, that is far away from here. We have a good police force. So it's important for people to recognize that this is relevant to everybody. It's not just relevant to urban areas or areas where there's much higher crime or anything.
Over the summer, CPHS alumni Dina Trouts held her own protest on Cypress Creek Road. Between Sunchase and Shakes and up until early August, Trouts, along with friends and others who wanted to join, was out there nearly every day with signs for the cause.
There were people who were honking and yelling supportive things out the window, taking videos. People would sometimes bring us refreshments and things, or offer us do you need any sunscreen, water? But there was also negative responses. It benefited myself and other people at the protest to be able to see the negativity in our own community, because that proved to us that this was the audience that needed to be reached.
According to the U.S. Census Bureau, Cedar Park consists of a little under 3% of Black community members, but that hasn't kept the tidal wave of the Black Lives Matter movement from reaching our community.
And speaking up when something needs to be done. If you see somebody saying a slur or a joke that they think is funny but really shouldn't be, then just speak up about it.
Senior Obi Onya and other members of the African American Heritage Club say they have mixed experiences at CPHS.
My school life, students just saying offhand things that don't really mean much, but still kind of, affect you. It's been mostly positive though here.
As a student, you should always feel like you're being pushed to your potential and not some kind of lowered standard because of your race.
People like Dina Trouts continue to bring awareness to the changes they hope to see, not just nationally, but here in our own backyard.
I hope that the protest got through to people in a way that they realized, maybe I should be thinking about this, maybe I should be doing more.
Thanks for that report, Claire. It's truly been not only an eventful but historic summer.
CPHS African American Heritage Club is open to new members and everyone is welcome. Meetings are held every second and fourth Friday of the month during din in Miss Osh's room.
Many of you may be wondering how we are pulling off the Wolfcast virtually this year. The staff has been working remotely to push content daily, with full shows airing on Friday thanks to Zoom, GroupMe, and Adobe Premiere. Communication and hard work will allow the Wolfcast to continue this year. The staff will continue to update our students on clubs, events, and stories as if it was any other year, and the team cannot wait to get started. It's so good to be back, Cedar Park, and don't worry, we're not going anywhere.
It's definitely a big adjustment. I'm the executive producer this year, and I was kind of betting on leading the team in person, being able to really interact with them. And it's definitely a big change, being only being able to really like see people through their little squares on Zoom. But I think that we're adapting well, and things really could be worse, I suppose. But yeah, it's definitely a really big change, and not what I was really anticipating.
In this insane time at CPHS, many programs and departments are having to find ways to adapt to the situation. An amazing example of this is the library. The CPHS library has developed a new curbside pickup system where students can select the books they want to check out through a Google form and select from one of those times to come pick it up. The library has always been a quiet place where students can come and read, study, and work. Although the pandemic has left this physical place off limits, our librarian, Miss Barnes, wanted to find a way for students to take their eyes off the screen and keep reading.
I'm on a committee for the State Library Association, so I'm having to read a lot of books. And so I've been using the curbside library program through the Cedar Park Public Library all summer long. And I thought, that is something that we really need to do here, because y'all have so much screen time right now, especially with everything being a Zoom meeting and everything else, and we're just looking at computers all day. It's nice to be able to break away and do something that doesn't require a screen. And every time I read and pick up a book, I'm still learning something new. And and I just think it's always important to be able to get books into people's hands so that they have that opportunity.
Up next, Brody Bush will catch you up on the top 3 things you need to know for today.
Smoky Moe's Barbecue, the best barbecue that money can buy, proudly supporting Cedar Park High School.
Thanks guys, and here are your top 3 things for the day. First, the world's first happiness museum has officially opened in Copenhagen. The project is being run by the Happiness Research Institute, whose main goal is to determine why some societies are happier than others. The institute wanted to provide the public with a place that shows what they've been working on. Next, Mark Gordon, governor of Wyoming, is currently promoting a study done by the Trump administration that says pumping carbon dioxide emitted by coal-fired plants underground instead of into the atmosphere would be an economical way to curtail pollution. However, these findings are questioned by the owner of the plants who want to shift away from coal and focus on wind and solar. Finally, Governor Greg Abbott is considering a legislative proposal that would give the state control of the police. Abbott is considering this as an alternative to directly cutting more funds and supplies to the police, although last month it was decided that the police would be taking budget cuts. Those are your top 3 things for the day. Back to you, Justin and Ella.
Thanks, Brody. Now we throw it over to Luke Johnson and Katie Whitmarsh for your sports report.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Wolfcast Sports Report. I'm Luke Johnson.
And I'm Katie Whitmarsh.
Let's start with girls basketball. Every grade level will have in-person practices whenever their grade is phased in, starting September 6th or 8th with freshmen.
That's right. This will make for a slow and easy transition from each grade. The transition will end October 5th with the sophomores returning.
Your Lady T-Wolves will resume their domination of every team in the district starting September 6th against the Temple Wildcats.
Exactly, Luke. I think this will be a very exciting season. Coach Ott and the ladies have a lot in store for us, so let's cheer them on.
Moving on to football, your Timberwolves are soon to start working with pads on. Up until now, they've just been doing light field work without pads.
That's right. This will truly help get these guys in the mindset of getting out on the turf and laying down the hammer on our competitors.
On the safety side, the boys are keeping the weight room disinfected after every use, so props for safety, boys.
And now, we are hyped to announce that our first scrimmage will be on the 18th against Westlake.
And that's not all, Cedar Park. Our first official game will be on the 25th against our rival, the Vandegrift Vipers.
This will be a battle of epic proportions, so be hyped, be loud, and be proud to stand with Cedar Park.
That's your sports report for the week. I'm Luke Johnson.
And I'm Katie Whitmarsh.
Back to you, Ella and Justin.
Thanks, Luke and Katie. Up next is a new edition of the Pack Chat, right after this break.
We are not just here to share announcements. We are here to tell stories. Your stories. Students depend on us, and what they need from us is to be hyped, to be ready, to be informed, to be successful, to be Timberwolves. We are real news. We are sideline reporters, moment capturers, question askers, life sharers, cheers spreaders, and voice givers. And above all, we are students just like you, here to help you. We are journalism, newspaper, yearbook, and broadcast. We are CPHS News.
Smoky Moe's Barbecue, the best barbecue that money can buy, proudly supporting Cedar Park High School.
Welcome back to the Pack Chat, our student voice opinion segment where we discuss this week's most trending topics. I'm joined today by my co-host Victor Martinez, and I'd also like to welcome today's guest co-hosts, Katie Smith and Ileana Tangarova, who's filling in for Sam Mack. Now, let's get started with today's trending topics. First, video footage has been released from a San Francisco hair salon showing Speaker of the House Nancy Pelosi getting her hair done without a mask. This video has sparked a debate for many since salons in San Francisco were not allowed to open until the next day and with safety restrictions in place due to COVID. Speaker Pelosi responded to critics, claiming the salon reached out to her and she followed the rules they provided. In fact, the congresswoman believes the salon owes her an apology for setting her up. What do you guys think about this? As she is being called a hypocrite, we've seen how she feels about COVID and how she feels about wearing a mask. And how do you think this compares to the Houston salon owner we saw back in May, who was jailed for doing hair during salon closures here in Texas? What do you guys think?
Yeah, honestly, I mean, this is just like, I think that what she did is like very like, it's just wrong and hypocritical, like for her to be doing right now, because even if she wasn't fully, even if the salon may have reached out to her and said, these are our rules, like, please, like, you know, this is what we're abiding by, like, I think that as Speaker of the House, somebody who advocates for businesses being closed or distant or restricted, like, I think it's her job to know what the rules are in those contexts, and that salon was in violation of them. But still, I think it's ironic that she's being flamed by Republicans who refuse to wear masks when they go to work, or Trump who doesn't wear masks when he has rallies with a bunch of his supporters. So I just think that there's hypocrisy on both sides.
Yeah. I think it's like setting the wrong precedent for everything she's said before. Because, like, yeah, she's done great stuff for Congress and she's Speaker of the House. But at the same time, it's like you're pretty hypocritical on your setting the really wrong precedent by, even if the salon called out to her and said, hey, come here, just by going to a salon when the salons aren't even open, that just rings something wrong. And plus, like, yeah, what Victor said about how the Republicans are flaming her, even though they don't usually wear masks, that's just like, it's funny.
No, for sure. And the thing that really is kind of hitting me about this is something that I believe that is so strong for leaders to do is admit when they're wrong and, you know, say I messed up. And it's something that we haven't seen with the president. We know he will not admit when he's wrong. And so therefore, in the candidates that I look for and whatnot, I like leaders that can admit when they're wrong. And for her to just automatically, I don't know if you guys saw her speech about it. Like, my jaw was like, I just could not believe what she was saying. Like, she just full on was like, I did nothing wrong. I was set up, and I think I deserve an apology. And
Yeah,
I'm just like, what? We all saw the video. Regardless, you chose to go there.
Mm-hmm.
You chose to not wear a mask. And at the end of the day, you can't say you were set up because you went for your own free will. Yeah, they might have said, we won't tell anyone. Yeah, they might have said, oh, you don't have to wear a mask. But if you're tweeting about how serious COVID is, wouldn't you take it upon yourself to wear one in the first place, regardless if someone tells you to or not, you know? So I just think that, I don't know, I think this is kind of a low blow for her. You know, normally huge fan, but I'm a bit disappointed in her. I'm not gonna lie, especially her reaction to it was just not good.
Yeah, I think she had an opportunity to really just like show, like you said, like the difference between her and Trump there. Like Trump has made many, many mistakes and he refuses to apologize for them. She had an opportunity to claim that and say like, I did something wrong, that's my fault, and I was hypocritical, but she didn't do that.
Exactly.
Katie, what do you think?
And I think that especially as Speaker of the House, she should be upholding that example that she wants other people and other citizens to also withhold. And it's really frustrating to see her preach so strongly about how dangerous COVID is and how careful we need to be. And then the second that she doesn't think she's being recorded or watched, she goes against everything she has said.
Yeah.
And it just really shows how people act when they don't think that they're being watched.
Yeah, exactly, for sure. Secondly, President Donald Trump is being called out for alleged statements he made about Marines who lost their lives. 4 people with knowledge of the conversation claimed during a 2018 visit to an American cemetery in Paris, Trump said, "Why should I go to that cemetery? It's filled with losers." In another conversation, the anonymous sources say the president said the 1,800 Marines were, quote, suckers for dying. What do you guys think about this? As one of Donald Trump's huge claims on his campaign is that he loves the military and he supports them and whatnot. And obviously he's come out and said that these claims are not true, but you know, everyone says that about everything, so it's not really super reliable. But would you guys believe this? Like, do you guys believe these accusations or these claims? Like, what do you think?
I definitely think that if there's 4 witnesses who have come out and spoken about this, then there has to be some amount of truth. And I feel like he's insulted a very, very big community that partly supports him. And by doing that, he's insulted the core of the country and just insulted the heart of what America usually tries to stand for. And by calling them losers and suckers, I feel like he just lost a big percentage of what he's been trying to stand up for. And I feel like he's been hanging on a thread because of that.
And part of the accusations claimed that when he had to go to John McCain's funeral, who is an ex-veteran, he never liked John McCain. I don't know if you guys know that, but he had some real bad blood there. I don't know why. And yesterday when he tweeted about these claims, apparently he, on his way to John McCain's funeral, like, he called them a loser and like said some stuff behind his back and whatnot. And yesterday when he was tweeting, Donald Trump was tweeting about, you know, these claims and how they're false and, you know, the fake media is always out to get him. He literally started off the tweet with, "Yeah, I never liked John McCain." And I'm like, what? Like, you just said, no, I would never say this stuff about veterans, guys. I would never say that about John McCain. But yeah, no, I never liked the guy. So it's kind of like, what? Like, I'm like, okay, you're trying to...
And you're just like, it's the similarity that's right there. You're making it more understandable. The claim.
Yeah, for sure.
And I also just find it ironic that Trump, like, these statements, whether or not they're alleged, they've happened multiple times throughout, like, long periods of time of, like, disrespect for, like, John McCain as a prisoner of war, or disrespect for soldiers who have lost their lives, which I just think is ironic since Trump has a history of evading the military draft.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, he evaded the military draft 5 times. The first 4 when he was in college, the 5th because he had a bone spur, which was diagnosed by a doctor who lived, who rented from his father.
And that is a really important point to bring up, that Trump is the only US president that has no military or political background.
Mhm.
And this is just yet another big example of hypocrisy coming from him. And it's one of the most blatant examples one could find.
Mhm.
And even though these statements are alleged, like Ella said, this is not the first time this has happened.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I'm honestly getting pretty tired of him saying that everyone's out to get him, because I'm like, really? All of these people that are saying stuff about you are out to get you? Like, I'm like, at this point, it's thousands of people that have
Yeah,
said
you brought it on
something
yourself.
about him, and I'm like, oh yeah, whole United States, we're all
Yeah.
lying here. Like, I'm tired of just like him, just like whenever someone says anything about him, he's just like, false, not true, screw the media, and I'm just
fake
like,
news.
And I would just really like, I mean, I know that we don't have today, we don't have like any people on this like panel who support him, but I'd like to see like what people are saying. Like, I know that like the claim might be alleged and everything, but considering that it has that it's happened multiple times, I'd like the Conservative Party is one of an ideology that is always respecting of the military, which is something that I agree with and I think everybody should agree with. But like that is like something that is like particularly prominent in conservative ideology, is respect for the military. And I'm just like, that's why it doesn't make any sense to me.
It's baffling.
Yeah.
For sure. And that's all we have for today's Pack Chat. We would love to know what your thoughts are. So head over to our social media to vote on our Instagram polls at CPHS News. And remember, T-Wolf Pack, there's always time to chat.
Thanks, Ella, and the Pack Chat host. Before we go, it's time for the return of Pet of the Week. This is Travis Weir's cat, Jet. You might remember his brother, Bandit, from last year. Jet enjoys spending his time staring out the window, spending time with Bandit and Travis. He tends to act without thinking. A few of his quirks include chasing his tail, chewing cables, and getting angry if the back window isn't open.
That's all we have for today. Thank you so much for tuning in to our first Wolfcast of the year. It's great to be back.
Absolutely, Ella. With CPHS News, I'm Justin Bohr.
And I'm Ella Neal. Remember to make it a great day or not, the choice is yours.